this video is if you have already completed a drawing of what you want to make. Because once we have a drawing, that's when we can fabricate. Fabricate is a fancy word for build. So, I need my material. I need a cutting implement. Don't spin your knives. I shouldn't have done that. I've got a box cutter. Now, box cutters are the cause of probably most of the injuries in our wood shop because they're very sharp, and if you aren't paying attention, you can easily slit your finger. You don't want to do that. I have a workbench that is gnarly. So I can just cut right on top of this. If you are on a nice table, don't do this. What you want to do is get yourself a sturdy pair of scissors or shears. That way you can cut without ruining your tabletop. I have also brought my little bag of tricks, my box of tricks, because I have my hot glue gun, which I'm going to use to connect the multiple layers of my project. So now that I've gotten my material down to a workable size that fits on my workbench, I'm going to get my ruler and my plans. Now, I've got an 8 by 8 inch square that I need to make. So I'm going to get into that. Let's see. First, I'm going to make sure I have the right height. Yeah, we're good. And I'm going to use a pen so I can see these lines crisp and clear. So 8 inches from here to here. And now 8 inches this way. Whee! See, that's where I marked it. And try my best to stay perpendicular. All right. Great. We are well on our way. Now, what I'm going to do to make my life easier is make this a template. What I mean by that is I'm going to use this to help me make my other pieces faster. A sharp box cutter is much better than a dull one. What I've done here is I've scored the cardboard. That means it's not fully cut, but I have a line through one side. Here I can fold it back to help me make my second cut. Second cut, you can just power through that one side. Or, yeah, that didn't work. You can now get your scissors and cut where you scored the material. I'm going to do that now. Now that I have a template, this is beautiful. Since all 4 of my pieces are going to be the same footprint, 8 inches by 8 inches, I just take this, plop it down, apply some pressure, and I'm going to trace. Boom, much faster. Trace it again. I don't care if I go over because I'm going to just cut out any excess. Boom, and last one. Now, if you want to save time, you can put your template lines right next to each other so that this cut works for both pieces. I'm just going fast though. Alright, so now I've got the 4 platforms that I need. What I'm going to do is hold 2 of these pieces aside, and I'm going to focus on just 2 of these squares because I have 2 different patterns that I need to include. I'm going to start off with my simpler pattern. So, my link is going to be, based on this image, it's going to be 1.5 inches in from the bottom edge. So 1.5, put my mark, and then 3/8 of an inch is going to be the thickness of this line. I want it to go in 4 inches. So I'm going to draw a 4-inch line. My next spot is going to be the gap up here. So it will be 2 inches away from this edge. And this I just kind of estimated. And this gap is going to be as large as we want to make it. For me, I put in 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to make a 3-inch line. Great. We have finished one of these templates. Now what you can do is cut these pieces out and use this as a template for your second one. I have my box cutter. I leave it right on the table. And I know if I cut myself, I have to get to a sink. I need to get a Band-Aid and treat it properly. Do this with parental supervision. I'm going to do a shortcut for 2 different things. Number 1, for my second piece, I'm going to use this to put my lines, so I don't have to measure as much. Because as good as it is to measure, it does take some time. Let's see. I'm really trying to keep that same thickness here. Okay? That copy is done. But here's the fancy thing. I know this is going to link up in here. So what I'm going to do is take this, and I'm going to flip it so that my other piece, if you can see, has this notch perfectly measured out. Now that I've started this, I'm going to continue with my second diagram. The gap for the wallet is going to be, looks like 3 inches in, and it's going to be 1 inch wide. So I drew a 1-inch gap here, and it's going to be 5 inches in depth. Now I'm really saving time. I'm using the pen to score the cardboard. Beautiful. And the circle is going to be 2 inches in this way, 2 inches in this way. And it's going to have a diameter of 2 inches. 1, 2, 1, and 2. Now I'm going to very carefully draw this circle. If you have a compass, that's a much better tool to use. With my compass, I put the point in the center, and I put the tip that draws on one of my corner points that I made, and I can just use it to make a beautiful circle. Yeah, I have a low quality compass. It kind of doesn't lock in place very well. But I've got my circle now. At this point, I'm going to cut this out. To cut this circle, basically what I need to do is get my cutting implement on the inside. I started off using the box cutter to just score the front, and then you could take your scissors and just carefully slide it in so that it goes through the back. Then you cut from the inside. And you're going to remove the material until you can get that curve properly cut. At this point, I have this piece fully cut out. I've got 2 of these pieces fully cut out. So this is all done. Now I need to copy this onto my last piece. I lay it flat, get that pen out, and copy. Thank you, template. You make life easy. Cut this out. At this point, I pretty much have all my materials. Let me check for fit. Before we do anything that's irreversible, we're just going to make sure everything can slide into each other. So, I get my pieces and I line them up where they're supposed to slide in. And very carefully, without ripping things, I'm going to fit this together somehow until it fits. Okay, give it a little love. Let's stand up. Okay, cool. I don't know if you can, yeah, here we go. So now I've got this organizer standing upright. And it looks pretty good. Now, I actually have rethought something. I don't know if you can see me. Yeah. So originally I was going to use a whole bunch of hot glue to hold this together, but at this point I think that may not actually make sense. So what I think would be a better application is just tape. I think masking tape would be sufficient in holding this together. I could put a ring around the top to stop this from splitting apart. I could put a ring around the bottom here to stop that from splitting, and a ring here. Now, based on my original design, I actually have a little more work to do. I want to add 2 strips here to hold things. But this has been a guiding video to show you how you can actually speed up your building process. Happy making!